Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 36 of the On Deck podcast. I'm your host, Roberto, and welcome back, AJ Rowe of the Painting the Black podcast. We're here to talk free agents again. Another banger incoming. So, without further ado, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It is freezing outside, so I'm
Oh,
just happy I am inside and recording this because work was crazy. It's very cold, but nobody wanted to come in, so I made my job easier.
that's, always a good time just getting paid doing nothing.
Exactly.
Well, with the off season, there was three big names. Well, at least three big names remaining.
Yep.
Tucker, Bo, Belly. They've all been signed. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's leave Tucker for last because I have a lot of different points I want to make on that one. So let's start with Bellinger. I feel like it's the most straightforward one.
I'm
Um,
happy. That's all I gotta say. I'm
so
happy.
Bellinger, yeah, I mean, obviously you are. Bellinger gets a good contract. I don't mean to steal your thunder here, but Bellinger gets a good contract, one that I think works for both teams. I mean, as I've said, like the Yankees need to not act like a small market team, and that's exactly what they're doing here. So I believe he ends up his first 2 years with his signing bonus in ends up being something like $80 million. Like I
Yeah,
think
I think it
$82
was
million
80,
dollars.
82, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So ultimately, the full deal is 5 years, 162, but he gets the 80 whatever million. So I think the one thing that Boris really wanted was the language to kind of benefit Bellinger. He doesn't end up getting much more years necessarily than people thought. A bit higher AAV than I would have expected from starting in the offseason, but with the way, the other deals we're going to talk about have gone, nothing surprises me anymore. But it's a good deal for both teams. I think the Yankees know that Bellinger fits. And although Bellinger might not hit well on the road necessarily, he works at Yankee Stadium, so they don't really care. And their outfield was just it was bleak before Bellinger, and even with Bellinger, I don't think it's some elite outfield. There's a lot of question marks, but you have Aaron Judge, so it gives you a high floor. And for Bellinger, if he decides that, if he has two back-to-back good years, he can opt out. The Yankees will be fine with it because they got 2 good years out of him, and then he can go and get a 5 year deal. So I like the deal for both sides.
Yeah, I was honestly from the very beginning when I started to hear 7-year deal, what he was looking for, I was kind of like, are they really gonna give Belly 7 years?
Yeah.
And then, there was a massive standoff for it seemed like forever where, there was offers on the table, but not really gaining any traction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like you said, the deal 5 years, was it 162 and a half mil?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a pretty good deal. The AV is kind of up there for me, for my liking.
For sure. But you're the Yankees.
We're we're different Yankees now, apparently. Bring it back like 10 years, this would be totally fine. It's like
Yep.
put down the credit card and, spend. But, it for some reason it's been different the last, I don't know, 2, 3 years. But yeah, I really like this move. This was a guy that they needed to bring back. And like you said, he does struggle on the road. If I
But
remember
no.
correctly, it was like a low 700s OPS everywhere but Yankee Stadium.
Yeah,
And
it's yeah, sorry. Keep
yeah,
going.
for like
Continue.
a guy that, pulls the ball extremely well, I think it
Yep.
was like a match made in heaven that, he
Absolutely.
landed to the Yankees and like I really couldn't see him playing anywhere else realistically. Like everybody was saying the Mets, and it was honestly just because of money.
Yeah,
I don't think he would have fit necessarily well
not
in
at all.
a Mets uniform or just in that stadium. But overall, I'm pretty happy to have him back.
Yeah, so the one thing is that a lot of times, when they said he has to be a Yankee because it's the only place he can hit, yada yada yada, that was a big talk. The one thing that is interesting is that obviously the splits were huge. It was a
Oh
152
yeah.
WRC plus at home last year versus a 97 on the road. To put it in simpler terms, it's a 909 OPS versus 715. Now the difference is he had a 291 BABIP at home versus 255 on the road. So that alone kind of already gives you an idea of, it might have honestly just been a bit of bad luck. And if we go back to 2024, where he was with, or sorry, not 2024, my apologies. Going back to his old years, like 2023, where he was really good, he was still way better at home than he was on the road, which he was in Wrigley. So it's not like
Wrigley.
he was in a necessarily huge hitter's park or a place where he can just pull fly balls. He might just be one of those guys where I think there's a bit of a mental level to it, right? When he went through that huge slump for what was it, like 2 years or whatever
Yeah,
before he was
it was a long time.
non-tendered, right? I think that there honestly might just be a bit of the mental game, and I think that might be it. I would be worried giving out this deal just because we're seeing regression on the athleticism side. Like he's slowly getting slower and slower. I don't think he can play center field anymore. I think he's more of a very good corner outfielder, fine enough center fielder, and he just doesn't hit the ball hard. It's 20th percentile bat speed. If he can hold the bat speed that he currently has, he should be good. The real question is, does it regress? Because if that drops, right now it's at 70 miles per hour, which is in the 20th percentile. If that drops down to 69 miles per hour, all of a sudden he's just flying out to the warning track, even at Yankee Stadium. So I like the deal. It also gives him flexibility because he has the ability to play first. And I don't know how they feel on Ben Rice yet, if they feel like he is an everyday player. I think he is, but I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of see him as more of a, hey, you're going to play first. Maybe he'll catch every now and then, not necessarily an 162 leave it and set it and forget it type of guys. So I think it gives them a bit of flexibility that way. And Bellinger last year was elite against lefties. And that's kind of been the thing for his career. Well, since he's fixed himself into this new hitter where he's, contact and sprayed all around the field, he's been better against lefties. So I think him having reverse splits really helps protect Bellinger or Judge in that middle of the lineup.
Yeah, that was one thing that kind of shocked. Well, it didn't really shock me. Like it was well documented the last couple years that, like you said, he's been fixed himself. But
Yep.
watching him like have at bats against tough lefties, like I remember it was a at bat against Chapman, laced a double off the wall. Like
Yes.
in my opinion, I was like, oh no, the game's over. Like Chapman's in the game, lefty lefty. Like
I
there
remember
stands no
watching that
chance.
game, just rooting so hard against you guys and being like, "Oh, okay, good. It's Chapman against Bellinger." But it was like an insane at
It
bat, like
was. I think it was like a 8 or 9 pitch at bat, and then just
and
absolutely
just
ropes a
fighting.
double off the wall. Like
Such a pretty at bat.
it
Such a
was.
pretty at
But
bat.
I like like you said, I like the flexibility. He's definitely not going to be playing as much center field as I think people are expecting him to play,
Yep.
which then kind of brings up that question: what do they do with Dominguez in
Hmm.
left? Because I don't know, he's 23. He's not great at all in left field.
Nope.
But like he's 23.
Absolutely.
Like you can't give up on the guy so easily. It's like everybody's like, "Oh, send him to the moon." Him and Spencer Jones are not making it to the MLB roster. It's like
It's
give him a
Yankees fans in a
chance. Give
nutshell.
him a
It's
chance to do
it.
like, I don't think he'll be playing center field because Grisham is out there and historically speaking, Grisham has been a great center
Mhm,
fielder. I know last year he had a weird drop off defensively,
mhm.
but I don't know. I like the flexibility. Like you say, he could also play first. But then I don't know. I also want to see a guy like Dominguez have a bigger role this season. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of pathways to getting him that. The Bellinger's ability to play first lets you. Austin Wells is another guy who Yankees fans were kind of ready to send to the moon, but he's not that bad. And
No,
he's like
he's
a
a
league
good
average
defensive
hitter.
catcher.
Exactly. And honestly, like just by being a league average or so hitter and a plus defender, it makes you like a top five catcher in baseball.
Absolutely.
Like I think Wells is realistically only behind Will Smith, Cal Raleigh, Contreras, and Kirk. And then it's like a lot of arguments for just different guys. I could be forgetting somebody off the top of my head, but I don't think war projections have him being all that far off either. They haven't projected for 3.7 war. Yeah, he's actually projected to be like their catching situations projected to be third. So like he's a very good defensive catcher that can hit enough. But if he struggles, Rice's ability to play catcher, not often, but 20 games or
Enough.
so. Exactly. And then Stanton's going to be injured at one point. So,
The inevitable.
right. So Ben Rice can do some DHing and Judge will do some DHing. I think there's lots of at bats to go around for Dominguez, and I think they should get him there because I don't think they can just keep running with this exact same outfield forever. Eventually, they have to move off Grisham probably, and they have Judge and Bellinger tied up. I don't think you want to be paying three guys that are on the wrong side of 30 on long-term contracts. And if this is a big if, but if Grisham has another year like he does last year, he's going to get a
Oh
long-term
yeah,
deal
he's
from
absolutely
somebody.
getting paid.
So I like what the Yankees have. The WAR projections are a little friendly for some of their players, I feel. They have Volpe projected for 2.2 WAR, and he's projected to miss part of the year too, coming off
Hey,
a labrum.
hey. So
It's
labrum
not
tear, he's coming
impossible.
back.
Hey, you know what it's like coming off labrum tear, so maybe it rejuvenates them. But the Yankees team is really good, and there's been a lot of hate saying that, oh, well, they didn't do much in the free agent market, which is true, but I don't think they needed to. I think people forget, yes, they lost to the Blue Jays, but the Blue Jays had the greatest offensive series, one of the greatest offensive series we've ever seen, and they were just hot that entire playoffs. I mean, they did the same thing to the Dodgers pitching staff. They just hit, and if the Yankees had ran into the Tigers in the first round, I have no doubt that they beat up the Tigers. And maybe if they see the Jays in 7, they put up a better fight. So I don't think that they needed to do that much. Although I do feel like on the pitching side of things, they might have, they're maybe a little light at the moment.
Yeah, that's a one worry for me, but at the same time, it's like we're gonna talk about this later, but there's a few arms that are still out there, and I feel like, a guy like Verlander is probably not gonna sign with the Yankees. Big fly ball issue. Um,
Yeah. But
Bassett.
there's Chris Bassett's. There's trades, like the Blue Jays are shopping Barrios. If you're the Yankees, you don't have to give up a lot of assets. You just need to get you their guy. Cole's gonna be back. Rodon's gonna be back, and obviously we don't know exactly what they're gonna look like, but you feel like you have your playoff rotation set with Fried, Rodon, Cole, and Schlittler, hopefully. But it feels like they need a couple of that get you there guys because who knows what Rodon comes back like and when he comes back. And the same idea with Cole, getting a guy that's just a reliable innings eater, even if it means, potentially going to the trade market without giving up top assets, I think is something that the Yankees need to focus on because I think they have the potential for the top line pitching.
Yeah, honestly, they just need, I think two arms at the very least to get them to the All-Star break where
Yep.
Cole comes back, Schmidt comes back. Rodon should be progressing, or I think he's coming back in July, something like
Yep.
that. But they need something other than Yarbrough, Blackburn,
Yeah, they
Steele,
need they need
and
get you there,
Schlittler.
guys, right? And they got Ryan Weathers, and I like Ryan Weathers. We'll talk about it more later, I think, on one of our episodes, but he's got really good stuff, but that's not the mold that I think they really need. I think that they could potentially help him out by moving him to the bullpen. Maybe he stays healthy, but they need guys who are healthy that are going to be solid and give this what is a loaded offense. I think people forget was the best offense in baseball by quite a margin, a chance to win more games and give this what should be an improved defense this year with Ryan McMahon for the whole year. Anthony Volpe probably won't suck as much as he did last year. Like it should be just a fingers crossed very much. It should be this is a good Yankees team. It already was a good Yankees team. And although I think they should have added an arm or two, which they still could, even if it's just to the bullpen, I think that it's a bullpen that I'm a little worried about anybody past Bednar and really Doval and Cruz I like, but I'm still worried about because there's big time command issues there. I think that they could use a bit of stability in the bullpen even.
Yeah. And, with that, I think it's a great transition to talk about the other signee for the New York team, the Mets and Bo Bichette.
So I don't know. I guess I'll start with it. I was at Game 7 of the World Series, and when Bo Bichette hit that home run, it legitimately was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like the vibes in the dome was very tense the entire game. Obviously, it's Game 7 of the World Series.
Oh, yeah.
When he hit that, it exploded. It felt like there was just like this stress off your shoulders. We scored first, and it was a multi-run home run from your team star, and this random dude who I didn't even know ran across the aisle to hug me, and I don't know who this was, but I was like, I didn't care. I was so happy. So I love Bo Bichette. I have a soft spot for Bo Bichette. I was even when we were linked to Tucker, I almost would have rather got Bichette, not because he's a better player. He's not the better player in any facet except for hit tool, I guess. But he, I wanted him back because he's my guy. You know, he grew up with Vladdy. Um, so I always have a soft spot for him. However, now that I'm off of Bo Bichette, the person who I love, he gave me the greatest memory, baseball memory of my life, just being at the dome when he hit that absolute moonshot off a hanging Shohei Ohtani slider. Um, this is an overpay, like it really is, and I know the Mets. It's the Mets, so I think that's the one thing where I'm like, I will never hate on a team signing any type of good free agent. Like I think the Bellinger contract's honestly an overpay. I think the Alonso contract especially was an overpay, but I'm never going to hate on a team that's getting better. So they panicked. They missed out on Tucker. I think they thought they were going to get Tucker. And ultimately, Bellinger wasn't a good fit for the team. Like just in that ballpark, he wasn't a good fit. So it was really Bo Bichette or nobody. And they gave him a lot of money, right? It's what 42 million a year over 3 years.
Yep.
But I see why they did it, and I mean they're a better team than they were before. Now adding Bo Bichette, and they didn't have to give him a long term deal. Which when the reports were coming out that he was looking for 300 million, like
Yeah,
I didn't know. I don't know if
I was
those.
shocked.
Yeah, I don't know if those were substantiated, but 300 million was way too much for Bo. They pay up front. If Bo, as long as he doesn't get injured, he's going to help this team. And then they don't care if he leaves after that, even if it's high AV, because they have Steve Cohen.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, initially when I saw, the notification come on my phone from, I think it was Passing that tweeted out 3 for 126, I said, Bo is worth that much?
Yeah, I remember sending a message to the group chat
Yeah, the
jokingly
group chat was going
saying,
crazy.
I said jokingly, watch them give him 40 million. It turns out they didn't. They gave him 42 million.
Yeah, I was
So,
like, wow, 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 wow. And yeah, I remember seeing reports that, they have him here projected on Fangraphs 7 for 189. He almost
yeah,
got that in almost half the use. Like that is crazy. They have him on Fangraphs here, medium AV of 27, and he's getting
it's
42.
I don't. It's a way too much money. Um, he's a weird hitter because he doesn't have good bat speed and he chases a lot, but he has an insane knack for the barrel. Like he consistently hits the barrel because for somebody who is 12th percentile in bat speed to be 83rd percentile in hard hit rate and around league average in barrel rate is ridiculous. And he's going to hit. We'll see if he can maybe with a year removed from that knee injury, he has a bit more athleticism. I don't know how he's going to be at third base,
Yeah,
but
that's the big question is
it's it's a
playing
big
third.
question. But my thing is, even if he plays bad defense, like because I mean he was a horrible defender shortstop, the worst in the league last year. Before that, he was just bad. But he was still so valuable because he can hit. If he hits an 840 OPS, the dude could be sitting there with a glove on his other hand, and I don't think anybody would care. The dude hits, and that's what the Mets are getting with Bo Bichette, and they get him for his prime years 27, 28, 29, or 28, 29, 30, whatever it is. And he's an elite hitter, and I'm very much going to miss seeing him as a Toronto Blue Jay.
Oh,
I'm just happy he's not a
absolutely.
Yankee or a Red Sox, to be honest.
I thought, in my opinion, I thought he was like whenever the World Series was over and the free agent period was like, starting. In my opinion, I thought that was the first guy that the Jays should have brought back.
Yep.
Like I know, like we talk about, oh, Tucker, Bellinger, all these big names, but like you said, Bo has been there with Vlad, since day one. I thought this was like, not pay him whatever he wants kind of
No,
situation,
no,
but
absolutely.
give him a fair deal.
Yep.
Like, you can feel out the market, see what,
Yep.
he's getting, and then, give him a little extra, stay in Toronto the rest of your career or
Yep.
whatever it might be. But to see him sign with the Mets and for this much and to play third base is like it caught me super off guard. And now you look at the Mets lineup. We might talk a little bit about another addition later, but you have two guys on the corners that haven't played those positions at all. And, the main focus for the Mets, we heard it all was, run prevention. And with two guys learning essentially new positions, how well is this run prevention going to be? Because you have
Yeah.
Lindor and Simeon. We both know that those are great defenders, but
Yep.
to extend those positions a little wider, got some question marks.
Yeah, I think that their plan, I'm going to be honest, I think that the main reason they traded Nimmo is they didn't want that deal anymore. I don't think
Yeah,
Stearns likes long-term deals, and Soto's the exception because, I mean, he's Juan Soto.
Juan Soto.
But they don't like, right? They had no choice if they wanted him. But I think he doesn't like long-term deals, and they moved off that, and they used the defense as more of an excuse on why. And then I think they also saw upgrading run prevention at third base was borderline impossible without sacrificing an insane amount of offensive upside. Beatty and who's the other guy? Vientos.
Vientos.
Vientos were not great defensive third basemen anyway. So I think they saw, hey, you know what? We don't, you know, Bo might not be great at third base, but he's going to hit better than both of these guys, and he's going to give you the better namesake. So I think they saw the opportunity to upgrade, and it was just more of that. It was too good to pass up. And a lot of people were mad at Bichette for leaving at first. I know I was sitting there and I was really angry. I was like, no way this guy left us. But when I saw the contract, I mean, the Jays are very much a team that sticks to their valuations. And I think that they slightly went above their valuations when it came to Vladdy, even though that contract really doesn't look any bad, much worse, as bad as it did when we look at all the contracts that the other guys are getting. But they were just never going to give that to Bichette. And Bichette has the right to go there. And the Mets look all of a sudden with just a few trades. A lot of people were trolling on the Mets after they missed out on Tucker. And then it was what, like a few days later, all of a sudden,
Wasn't
I
even. It
think
was like less than 24 hours.
yeah,
Bo
they get
Bichette.
Bichette and then they make these other moves, which we'll talk about later. And all of a sudden, they're projected to be third in baseball in WAR. So it's a good team, and I think people forget that last year it was a good team too that just went through uncharacteristically bad end of the season and injuries.
Yeah, I think now, with another move that they made into the rotation, it's looking pretty good over there in New York.
And it has depth. And it
Yes,
has depth.
that was much needed compared to last season.
Like I think when I look at their team, I mean, we had this conversation in the group chat, right? I think there's 7 guys, maybe even 8, that have an argument to be that could be in a rotation, right? If we go through Peralta, Peterson, Holmes, McLean, Manaya, Senga, that alone 7 or 6,
Myers.
and then Myers and Tong, right? So that is 8 guys right there that could be in a rotation, and that's not even including Christian Scott, who I like. And it's very interesting that they have gone from before these moves. I was like, man, I don't like this rotation depth. To now, I'm like, I like this rotation depth, and I like the offense. It just looks like a really good team on paper, even if there is some interesting ways that they went about doing it. Unorthodox ways being Jorge Polanco and Bo Bichette being your corner infielders.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch, but I think the most interesting watch for me is gonna be Kyle Tucker in Los Angeles.
This
Because
one,
oh, it makes my head hurt. It makes my head hurt.
I said it from the beginning. I think we said it on your last podcast. I said I think he's going to be a Dodger, and it made me sad, but it seemed like it was inevitable. Now, I didn't think that they were going to pay him $60 million. I think that was the
No one
big
did.
thing that messed me up. Right? I was like, I thought he was going to end up on the Dodgers because they offered him 50 or 45, not $60 million for 3 years, and we'll get to other points later. I want to talk Tucker first. This is a fantastic player, and there's been a lot of coping on social media saying, "Oh, he doesn't care about baseball. He doesn't deserve this big deal." Kyle Tucker is like pretty much unanimously a top 10 player in baseball since he's debuted. If you look at just about any offensive statistic, he's top 10 in it. Like in OPS, average, OBP, slugging, you name it. Maybe not average, but every single other stat, he's 10th or 11th, like in every single one. He's extremely consistent. The injury issues are overblown because it's like a bunch of different freak incidents. Like it's a fractured hand that he played through. And then he had something that was a shin injury that the Astros called a bone bruise and ended up being a fractured shin or something like that. He's an elite hitter. He does not chase. He does not swing and miss. He has enough bat speed that when he consistently barrels the ball, he gets it in the air. He's just a really, really, really good hitter. And even though he's not very fast, he steals bags. He's just a complete player. And the Dodgers have gotten insanely better by adding Kyle Tucker. And it is an insane overpay, technically. But I mean, the Dodgers are printing off money. Like they don't care. The Shohei, I mean, we've heard, and it's like this trope on social media, but the Shohei Ohtani contract is paying off itself just through endorsements and deals like that. So this team's gotten a lot better, and we can talk more about, the stuff leading up to it, but just on the pure Tucker standpoint, people are underestimating how good of an addition this is for the Dodgers. This isn't just good. This is great. This is their second best player on their team behind Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, like you were saying, people like underestimate Tucker. It was it the year he fractured his shin, he played like
Mm-hmm.
80 something games, put up like 4 WAR. It
Yeah.
was absurd.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
on pace for like 8, almost 9 WAR.
Yeah.
And, people just didn't really bat an eye at it. They're like, oh, fractured shin, he's injury prone. But when healthy, this is, like you said, a top 10 player easily. And just adding this into the lineup that's already was scary without him in it. It's just like, all right, you're starting today against the Dodgers. Like,
Good luck. And once you get through the
exactly.
first four Hall of Famers, you can see a fifth one. And then once you get through the fifth one, you can see Teoscar Hernandez, Tommy Edman, Max Muncy, and Andy Pages. So
Yeah,
good
like
luck.
you're gonna have Max Muncy batting seventh in this
And they're going to
lineup.
go right left throughout the entire lineup. So
It's insane,
like
insane.
good luck game planning for that. What's the game plan? Just hope that they don't score 8 runs,
Hope it doesn't go over the fence.
and then hope that Blake Snell, Yoshi Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, or Shohei Ohtani don't totally shut down your offense. And then if you can make it to the ninth inning, hope that you can get some runs off Edwin Diaz.
Yeah,
It's a super team. It's a super team.
it's insane. It's
There is no
insane.
so last year's team, I honestly think we should have won the World Series. I don't know that Blue Jays, that is. I don't know if that's a hot take.
I will completely agree with that. Like Miguel Rojas, probably the last person on earth that you
It
will
was his
see
first
hitting
home
that.
run off a righty the whole year, right? Like this isn't a guy with any power.
The
He
World
got a
Series.
3-2 slider, and he pulled it over the wall. I was like, throw him a slider. He's sitting fastball. He's not going to hit a slider out. What's he going to do? Poke it into left field? No, he poked it over the left field wall. I think we should have beat them, but the team now that they've made these additions does legitimately not have a single flaw. Their playoff rotation is going to be Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Ohtani. That's assuming no injuries, obviously. That's the one thing that can do it. But then you have Sheehan and Roki Sasaki and River Ryan at some point, and potentially Gavin Stone coming back at some point. The end of the bullpen is Edwin Diaz, Tanner Scott, and Alex Vesia. You have Brusdar Graterol. You have Justin Robleski. You have Edgardo Henriquez, who is disgusting even if he can't throw strikes. There isn't a flaw in the team anymore. Last year when we were facing them, they had Kike Hernandez and Alex Call or Andy Pages, who was the worst hitter in the postseason, or Miguel Rojas playing games. Their worst starter this year is going to be Tommy Edman, and Tommy Edman is still really
He's a
good.
really good player
He
still.
is really good. I think he's projected for around league average offensive upside output, and that's with very good defense. Yeah, he's projected for a 97 WRC plus, and he's a very good defender and a good base runner. This is an insane team, and they're obviously the team to beat, but it's baseball. You never know.
Yeah, with that, the Dodgers, like you said, they have all these pitchers coming back, but it's the Dodgers. They're gonna run into, a guy sitting out a month and a half,
Yep.
and it couldn't just be one. There's usually two or three.
Yep.
I remember at one point, I think it was only Glass now from like opening day roster that was still pitching in the
Yeah.
rotation. And then at
Yeah,
one point he went down as well.
there's injuries, and I also think they know how to manage it. They know that they are going to make the playoffs,
Very
even if
easily.
I would make an argument that even if every single one of their like top four, like their playoff starters, did not make a start all year, they would still make the playoffs. I think that they have enough depth around it, and they have such an elite offense that it really doesn't matter. That with
Just
a
outscore
rotation of
everybody.
exactly, and with a rotation of Sheehan, Sasaki, if they start him, and Robleski and Landon Knack or Kyle Hurt, whatever they want to do, this team would make the postseason. And the Dodgers know that. They know they're a fantastic team. So they know they can manage your workloads the way that they want it to look. So come playoff time, their four guys are healthy. And then come playoff time, the other guys can just go away. Thank you for your service. You got us where we need to be. Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Otani, and who did I miss in that group? Oh no, I think that's all. Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, Otani. We'll
Yeah.
go and pitch 7 innings of 1-run ball, and our offense will just score 4 runs off the back of one of our 4 Hall of Famers hitting some solo home runs. So that's
Yeah,
the Dodgers game plan, and it's, yeah, and a lot of people are calling for a lockout and for a salary cap. I don't know if we want to get into the weeds of that right now, but I'll say I don't see a salary cap ever coming.
no, I don't see it coming, but I did see, I think it was it Passion that tweeted it out? I saw it somewhere that was like, everybody's mad. We want
Yeah.
a salary cap. But like you said, I really don't see it coming. Um, I don't know if it's good, bad. We'll see in a year when, the actual debate happens. But
Yeah. I think the thing is that cap never comes without a floor.
yeah,
And if we're setting the cap, even if we set it very low at around $220 million, that means the floor is going to be around $150 million or so. The small market teams are not going to agree to spend $150 million a year with no rules. And the big teams aren't going to agree to put the cap down to $220 million. The one thing that could maybe work that I've been kind of talking about is it's similar to what they do in the NBA. Once you get above the soft cap, you can say once you get above the third tax bracket or whatever, you can no longer sign free agents to contracts above just say $5 million, and you can only re-sign your players. It might be it's a band-aid solution, but there's no way that the owners and players, even the owners alone, are agreeing on a cap and a floor unless we're going to make the cap 350 million and the floor 80 million. And at that point, it's not even going to change
yeah,
anything. All it's doing
then
is
there's
making you
no
money.
point in doing that. But
Exactly.
yeah, I really like, I don't know, like I'm on the fence about it, but at the same time, it's like I don't know how effective it'd really be. Like, you're promoting teams to spend, but like
It's not that
like
much.
like the A's, they're not gonna want to spend all that
Absolutely.
money
Absolutely.
compared to, let's go the complete opposite way, the Dodgers. They're
Absolutely.
not gonna want, they're gonna spend it on two, three guys.
Absolutely.
So like I really don't know how it would play out, but I guess honestly it's just a wait and see at this point.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. And I'm going to put you on the spot here.
All right, I'm
Can
ready.
you think of a singular offense like in the history that has the depth that this Dodgers offense has?
Can I say an all-star team?
Like honestly, I think that might be your best choice. Like I was looking at it and I was doing some comps, and that's why I wanted to put you on the spot to see if you could come up with anybody. And you know that everyone thinks about the big lineup being that Murderers Row Yankees, right? The 27 Yankees,
Yeah.
which was a fantastic offense. Do not get me wrong, but their offense was very, very good, but they had a lot of guys that were still below average hitters in their lineup, right? Yes, they had Ruth and Gehrig, who were the two best hitters potential in the whole league at that point, some of the best of all time. And they had Earl Combs, who had a 7 WAR season, underrated Yankee right there. But they also had a lot of guys who were they're in the starting lineup that were sub 100 OPS pluses. I think there's only one guy on this team that if they put up below 100 WRC plus, I would be surprised, and that's Tommy Edman. It's just that this team is so well balanced, and everyone calls their star power or whatever. It's not just a star power team because
It's
it
the
is.
supporting cast around them too.
The supporting cast is elite. Like it just is. It really is an elite supporting cast. And around the time when the Jays were, I was like, oh, I don't want to see the Dodgers in the playoffs. a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, I don't want to see the Brewers." I'm like, I would much rather see the Brewers.
Oh, I would.
Much rather see the
They have
Brewers.
a very like is the definition of solid lineup
Yeah.
1 through 9.
Yep. But the
Like
Dodgers have that too with stars.
also, I think I might have a team. It's probably very biased, but like the '09 Yankees.
That is actually, I don't even think that's biased. I think that's a good shout. Keep talking. I'll pull
I
up their stats.
think I remember seeing it somewhere. I can't remember if it was '09 or '08, but they had, I think it was the lowest WRC plus was, I want to say it was like Melky Cabrera or Jorge Posada. It was at like a 99 or was it 100, something like that.
Yeah, so you nailed it. So their lowest OPS plus was Melky Cabrera, who had a 93 OPS plus. Their main starters were Mark Teixeira, who had a 141 OPS plus, Alex Rodriguez, who had 138, Jorge Posada, who had a 125, Jeter 125, Matsui with a 123, Swisher with a 122, Robinson Cano with a 121, and Johnny Damon with a 118. So that might be the one team that
That
you could
might
say
be
had
the
the
one
depth.
team that comes close.
But now the question is, do they have the top line power? I think that you could say Teixeira and Rodriguez maybe are close to Tucker and Otani, but I think Otani's better than either of those guys.
Oh, Otani is the best player. Put two of the Yankees combined. That's one Otani.
And they also, I forgot to mention, they had Brett Gardner off the bench who put up 2 WAR, and that was a bench player. Not a great defender or a great hitter that year, but a great defender and a
Hey,
great
shout out Baldhead.
place. That was that was a team. Plus, they had CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, Andy Pettit in the rotation. So yeah, that's a good one. I think around the time I started hating the Yankees, it was not fair.
That's my earliest memory was
Like, because I
watching that team.
remember,
So that that you can't blame me there.
I would have been. I guess I must have been. I would have been 6. I remember watching them, and every single player that came up had better stats than the best player on the Blue Jays, and it was really making me angry because I could have sworn that Adam Lind was like the best hitter in the league, and all of them were better than Adam Lind. It's just like it. There were dark days. I worked for these days of this current Blue Jays, okay? Because I went through that. I went through that.
All right, jumping back into it due to some technical difficulties. We are going to talk about some of the remaining free agents left on the market and, overall thoughts. I want to start off with a guy that I totally forgot was a free agent, and that is Framber Valdez. Um, I totally forgot he was a free agent. Haven't heard a single thing about him. I maybe heard one thing about, the Mets just being interested, but other than that, we haven't really heard any offers being put out to him either. So, what are your thoughts on Mr. Valdez?
So Framber is such a weird case because when I was looking at all the starters in the free agency market and just ranking them on a player basis, I actually had him as my starting pitcher 1. I had him in front of Cease just because there's more consistency, better like numbers. Although I like Cease's upside more, obviously, and Cease has at least comparable, probably better FIPS, pretty similar, and just better stuff with the fastball and slider. But I had him in front of a Mai because I didn't really know what to expect from him. Didn't have too much of the pitch data, only the stuff with the Japanese ball. The backwards slider that MI has, like the slide that literally moves the other direction, is very rare. There haven't been many people that have had too much success with it, even though he has a good splitter. And then in front of Suarez, because Suarez's stuff just kept regressing. So he was actually my starting pitcher 1. However, Valdez is a special case because of the attitude issues.
Yeah,
And I think honestly, if he had just been a guy where it's like, yeah, he's a head case, but whatever, I think he would have still been able to get a huge contract. But I think everyone knows what scenario I'm talking about. The purposeful crossing up of, I believe, Cesar Salazar that was catching at the time, probably cost him $100 million or so. Because I think he ends up taking a shorter term. I guess I have to call it a prove it deal. I don't
yeah,
think there's much to prove though.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Is like at this point, it's whoever is gonna give him, a decent amount because, he still is a very good pitcher.
Very
But like
much.
you said, the attitude problem is probably the big red flag that teams are, not willing to give him a bag necessarily.
Yeah, he's got a great slider, a great curveball that is like very it's a bit more east-west than you would expect from a curveball, but it's nasty. Like it really does a good job staying outside of the stock shape. Obviously, the sinker's the bread and butter. Gets an immense amount of ground balls. Guys can't elevate it. He does a very good job at keeping it in spots where it can't really be hit all that hard. Valdez is really, really good, and he pitches a lot of innings too, which I know that's not the focus, but is not. It's definitely a positive. And with two good breaking balls, whoever gets Valdez, assuming he doesn't have some sort of huge fallout with whatever team he goes to, is going to feel like they got a huge bargain because he's elite. And I think people forget how good he is because Houston's not exactly the biggest market. They're good, but they're not exactly the biggest market. And he doesn't do it in the stereotypical, blow the ball by you. Right? He's a
He's a
ground
workhorse.
ball guy. Yeah, he's a ground ball hero. He doesn't let up home runs, and he keeps the ball on the ground. That's what he does, right? He's very good at limiting hard contact in the air. So I think people forget how good Valdez is, but like looking at just like Fangraphs WAR, just keep it in the simplest way possible. 4.4 F4 in 2022, 4.4 in 2023, 3.7 in 2024, and then 4.0 in 2025. It's consistent for WAR seasons from Valdez, and the profile is one that should age well because it's not velo driven or stuff, or I guess it is stuff dependent because it's mainly sinker dependent, but and it's elite FIPS too. He is really, really, really good. The attitude issues kind of scares me off. I think he ends up, if I had to put a guess out there, I would say Baltimore is going to be my guess.
Because they are, from what I remember in reports, they are still looking for one big starting pitcher. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
the match makes sense.
Yep. And they
Um,
don't like paying money. So they
exactly. I
get
was
an
gonna
ace
say it
without
comes down
paying
to
money.
a money issue, and you know, seems to me like there isn't many offers out there. So, it might just be, give them, a decent amount. What are the projected? Well, it says here he's 5 years, 140. I don't think
Because I
he's gonna
think that's what
get
he's
that.
worth, but he's
Yeah,
not going to
that's what
get
he's
that
worth.
anymore.
But nobody seems to be, thinking the same.
Yeah, and
Like,
I think all the big name like the big budget teams are no longer in the market for a starter. Like the Mets don't need a starter anymore. They've got Freddie Peralta. The Dodgers obviously never needed a starter. The Jays have set their rotation by getting Cease and Ponce. And the Phillies maybe could take a starter, but I don't think they need one. It's an interesting situation for Valdez, and it seems like he might end up with a opt out late in 3 year deal at a lower AAV or something like that, nowhere near what he thinks he's worth.
yeah, no, I mean, it sucks to see because, like you said, he is easily a top 10 pitcher just off of
Yeah.
pure consistency, and
Yeah.
you know exactly what you're getting
Yep.
every single year. But
Yep.
it sucks to see. Another confusing guy is Gino Suarez. Um,
Yeah.
this is, amazing first half
Mhm.
was, yeah, I think he had what, 40 or
Something like that.
40 some home runs at the break.
Yep.
It was a record for, biggest trade deadline home
Yep.
run hitter to be moved. But
Yep.
second half of the season goes back to Seattle where he's played before,
Yep.
couldn't hit a lick.
Yeah. He got his swing looked like it changed. It looked like he wasn't so here's the big thing about Gino. He is a major pull fly ball guy, and he has power, but it's mainly pull fly ball. He's only league average in terms of bat speed, but he cheats and he cheats out in front. And I think in Seattle, that's a hard park to do it in because from what I've gathered from what everyone says, the batter's eye is tough. And I think that even from when he was last in Seattle, he's gotten more and more pulled fly ball dependent. And I think that was leading to more and more chase and more whiff due to it. I mean, he was fourth percentile in whiff rate and fifth in K rate and 30th in chase rate. When you go back to when he was with Seattle, I believe 2022 was the last year there or
Yeah, I
2023.
think so.
whatever. He was elite in terms of chase, right? 89th percentile in chase rate in 2022 and 80th percentile in 2023. So I think that he really bought into the pulled fly ball thing. And in Seattle, I think that's a harder profile to succeed with just because I think it is hard to pick the ball up. That's what we've kind of got from guys. His market is really interesting. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on where you think he could end up because I'm kind of at a I don't really know.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me because it's been well documented that the defense is really fluctuated. Like he's been a good defender some years, then really bad at other years. I think he graded out as a maybe average, just below average defender at third base this year. But to me, it always made sense for him to go to a really good hitter's ballpark. And the two that come to mind are Colorado, which he is not going there, and Cincinnati, where A, he's played before, B, they need a DH now that they got rid of Lux, who was for some reason their DH some days.
Eek.
Actually. So
Eek.
I think it just makes sense. And Cincinnati is also a team that, they made a big leap. They didn't, perform well in the playoffs, but this is a team in the NL Central, which isn't really that competitive. We've talked about it before. All you need to do is be decent in the NL Central, and you're probably coming close second or itching at first. So I think this is a great fit for him. It says here he's projected for, they have him for a 3 year, 60 mil contract. I don't think he gets that. I think he gets a 2 year with a mutual option for a third, but
I think 2 years closer to 35 is probably his market at this point, like just over 15 million. I think the thing with Gino is he just strikes out so much and
he
he whiffs so
does.
much.
It's an absurd strikeout rate.
Yeah, and that's okay when you're hitting home runs. But we saw when he stopped hitting home runs, he was no
That's it.
longer a valuable player, right? Exactly. Because when you make such a limited amount of contact, and his isn't just low, right? There's everyone says like, oh, this league of whiffing or whatever. He whiffs 33.3% of the times and strikes out 30% of the time. And he only walks 7% of the time. So when you're not making a lot of contact, your contact needs to be at a very high level. And we saw when he wasn't hitting it hard, he was just not he's not a valuable player anymore. So that gives him the floor is so low just because of that. He's extremely home run dependent. My thing was I just pulled up projections because I think that Gino is a guy where a team might take him just because there is that chance that he's elite, even if he's a little risky. And there's some teams that need it. The Reds, as you mentioned, that was a very good call. They're not projected for much out of third base or first base or DH, which are the three positions I could see him taking. Their first base situation is Spencer Steer, Sal Stewart, which is not very good, and the third base is Cabrian
Brian
Hayes,
Hayes.
and the DH. I don't even know who the DH is now. Who
Probably a
is it
mix
now that he
of
moved?
Stewart,
Will
Encarnacion
Benson.
Strand.
Yeah, Tyler Stevenson a little bit. Yeah, yeah. So it's a just a whoever isn't playing. There's no DH there.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I do like the Reds. It would make sense. He could go out there and he could hit, and I think they have the means to fit him in some sort. But maybe they just want to stick with some of the young guys, give them more chance, like guys like Encarnacion Strand and Steer, who maybe they take a spot out of. So after that, I went to the Kansas City Royals because they're gonna have Mike Alcazar at third and Vinny Pasquantino at first, but the DH position is really really weak. And I think that what that could give you is Vinny P could now stop playing against lefties. You can put Gino Suarez at first base against lefties. And currently their DH is said to be Jonathan India. And that's bad. I don't think
That is
that's
very bad.
that is bad. That is very bad. It's a guy with no power, but decent on base and no speed. He's a depth piece, not a starting DH on a team that's supposed to win. And the Royals aren't a team that spends. That's not a hot take, but they're a team that we've seen potentially spend in the past. And although they might not want a full time DH because Sal Perez is going to do a decent amount of DHing, getting somebody who could potentially fill a different side of that platoon could be a big time positive for them. But past that, maybe the Pirates. I don't know. There just seems like the market for third baseman. There's only, if when I'm looking here, four teams projected for below 2 WAR from third base, and I will pull up Gino Suarez's projections for the year, but I don't think it's that much above that. I'd assume. Yeah,
I
he's only
do like
projected
the
for.
shout for Kansas City because, historically it's not been a really good hitter's ballpark, but
Mhm.
they're moving the fences in. You've heard
Exactly.
10, I mean, hey, 10 feet is a
It's
pretty
substantial for a home
substantial,
run
and they're
hitter.
lowering the walls as well.
Yeah,
So, I mean, it could happen, but at the
yeah,
same time, like you said, like they're gonna have Sal or
yeah,
Salvi
yeah,
DHing. They're gonna want to play Carter Jensen somewhere.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I think they don't necessarily need to. And looking at the third basemans, I got the WAR totals. Gino Suarez is projected for anywhere between like 2 to 2.5 wins.
yeah,
The bat is the most positive on him at 3 wins, but Oopsie only has him at 1.6 wins. Like he's around that 2 WAR, like 2.5 WAR range. And looking at teams that are 2 WAR or below, it's only the Pirates and the Reds, who we mentioned, the Marlins, who aren't paying money,
mm-mm.
the Angels. Maybe the Angels, they're a little dumb. The Athletics,
They've paid a third baseman before.
we have seen that and it went great, right? So why not do it again? The Athletics, the Rockies, and the Nationals. The Nationals, Rockies, Athletics, Marlins, you can just totally eliminate from that. So that leaves them with the Pirates, Reds, and Angels as teams that are in need of a third baseman. And most teams aren't looking for a full-time DH. So if they don't have at least a gap at third base, I just don't really see the team. Maybe the Red Sox. That might be the one bigger market team that I can go see.
That could be a good fit as well. I do honestly, I would not at all be surprised if the Angels picked them up. Just
That would be
because
an
like
Angels thing, wouldn't it?
they love to pick up either failed prospects or very old players.
It is. I hate that I'm It's true. Like it really just is true. It's what they do. They just they're not smart, to be
Oh,
honest.
but I just remembered they have Moncada at third.
Yes, they just re-signed Moncada, and although Moncada doesn't project well, I think that is their solution. So
He was a really good prospect at one point.
yeah, dude,
Now
if
he's old.
all Moncada has to do is turn the clock back like 7 years, and they have their third baseman of the future. Looking through projections before we move on, I think my favorite team is now the Red Sox. For him, I think it makes the most sense. The Red Sox still have money. Obviously, they lost Bregman. Currently, third base is supposed to be Marcelo Meyer. I like Marcelo Meyer, but it's do you want that to be your full time
Full
third
time, yeah.
baseman? And your second base position is Romy Gonzalez, Nick Sogard, David Hamilton. David Hamilton legitimately might be one of the worst baseball players I've ever laid eyes on. He is so horrible. He's
Hey
just
man, he's
bad
got
at
good
everything
speed
except for
though. He's
running.
got good speed.
He does. And I liked his swing in MLB The Show. I had him in one of my franchise modes. He has a good swing in MLB The Show. But he's just like really bad at baseball. So I just wouldn't really like him as, a legit solution. If you get Gino Suarez, he can play third base. He could DH every now and then, depending if they move on from one of those long jams of outfielders. Or he can play first base if Contreras does a tiny bit of catching, potentially, if they see that as something that's fit. And Marcelo Meyer and Romy Gonzalez becomes your full-time platoon at second base. Romy taking the weak short side of the platoon, and Meyer taking the other side. And as a guy that pulls a lot of fly balls, even if it doesn't result in home runs, it's going to result in a lot of
A
doubles
lot of doubles.
at Fenway. So I think that's a pretty good fit for both teams. And I think that Gino just kind of needs to take whatever he can get at this point. And I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
how many
been
suitors he has.
for someone that's been, that was a quote unquote big name during the free agent, period.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time for him to be, offered anything.
Yeah. The weak second half and an OBP below 300 will kind of do that to you.
Yeah. Someone else that I find very interesting that hasn't been signed is Harrison Bader.
Ooh.
This one, I'm surprised because from what I was reading, every now and then I'll just check up on random players throughout the season. And I was really surprised how well Harrison Bader was just from like a number standpoint.
Hmm.
Um, and he was healthy for, a decent amount of the year. Played well in Minnesota and then eventually got traded to the Phillies where, they had Yohan Rojas in center field and doesn't really give you much with the bat. This is a guy that can play essentially all three outfield positions, is has historically been really good defensively. I'm not too sure how he graded out defensively last
Very
year.
well. Very well. 7 outs above average.
Yeah, this is like it could be. Yeah, I know I don't see him necessarily getting, he doesn't want bench piece money. I
No,
think that's what it comes down to. I think he
he wants
wants to
that in between.
start
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
and get that kind of money.
Yeah. Bader's interesting. He was the guy who I wrote about in I mean, I didn't post this, but in one of my writings that I did, he was a big bat speed gainer last year. So he was consistently like 71 miles per hour in terms of bat speed. Last year he went to 73.5, which is good. Like that's good. That is in the 71st percentile. And he didn't do it by and he did it in the opposite way. A lot of guys you might see some bat speed just by hitting the ball further out in front. He hit the ball further to his body too. So I really do like that. And he didn't add swing length or anything. It's the same swing length. It's just a very good swing with good tilt. He didn't impact the ball the way you might want him to. He wasn't quite squaring it up, but that was through injuries, and he still had a good year. And the fact that he can play defense, good defense at just about any outfield position, he really fits as a guy on the short side of platoon, mainly against left sided hitters or pitchers. Sorry, I like his fit with the Yankees. I don't know if that's. I know he was already there, which kind of makes it a bit less. You don't see too many guys reuniting after leaving in free agency. Maybe in trade, sometimes you see it, but not as much in free agency. But I really do like that for them. And outside of that, I wanted to see him as a Philly. Like the Phillies re-signed Adolis Garcia. I would much rather Bader than Adolis Garcia. And he just seems like he's in that awkward in between. I think he's too good to just be a bench depth piece, but I don't think he's good enough to be a full-time starter on a good team.
Yeah, I agree. I remember hearing about the massive increase with the bat speed, and like you said, it shows. He'd put up a 122 WRC plus, and this was a guy that usually hovered around like I see here 114 with St. Louis back in 2020. That's a COVID year.
Yep.
2021, 108. And then you saw 84, 69, 85.
Yeah.
So he made a tangible swing adjustment,
Yeah. And it
plus
worked.
the defense that he's gonna bring.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I honestly I like the fit with the Phillies. I think he showed enough to be like,
Mm-hmm.
this is me for a whole year. It's not a
Yeah.
you get traded, make a swing change, and then
Yeah.
it's a 50, 60 game sample size.
Yeah. It seems
Um,
like the Phillies are semi cast strapped. And for some reason, although I think it's the worst outfield situation in baseball for any contending team, are some reason happy with them. So it feels like they're not a situation. I don't know. Who else do you see as fits?
I do like the Yankee shout. But hey, we're not gonna be spending any money. We're,
Small market team, man. You
you're,
know, you
you're
gotta
thinking you're thinking we're the Yankees of 10 years ago.
you gotta stay to your
We're,
evaluations. You know, it's hard.
we're
It's hard.
we got a budget over here now.
Cashman had
Um,
to get rid of one of his 10 yachts last year, and it was really tough for him. So
I'm trying to think what other team would need like I'd say he's better fits in the left field. He's on the other side of 30. I don't know how long he's going to be a center fielder. It's kind of the same thing with with Bellinger.
Mhm.
I remember he did have, he's had some foot and hamstring stuff.
Yeah.
So do you really want that risk running in center field all day? I'm
Yeah.
trying to think like what other teams need a left fielder, a right fielder.
If you don't mind me cutting in here, I just pulled up WAR projections. It's honestly just the easiest way to see teams that are missing things.
Yeah.
The Mets left field situation does not look very good right now. I know they probably decide to just stick with Beatty
Bailey.
and Benji and Benji
Benj. I think it's
Carson. Yeah,
Benj.
Carson in left field. I think they just stick with that, but they could really do with it, and just for depth too, and a guy who could potentially play a little bit of center field if Luis Roberts bad. Hedge your bets,
Yeah.
um, type of thing.
I
And
think he could be I think he's gonna be really good.
I think he
Call
is
call
too.
me crazy, but I think he's because A, he's on a contender,
Yeah, I think
and
you'll care
B,
now.
like having fans
Yeah,
come to the field to watch you,
yeah.
crazy thing for motivation.
I mean, it's elite bat speed and it's elite sprint speed, and he isn't horrible at getting the ball in the air. So I don't see his OPS last year was way lower than it should have been. He still stole 33 bags, even though he only got on base 29% of the time. I see him being good too, and I think just getting to the Mets is going to be a big positive. But that's maybe a team, and the Padres are a very bad team for left field right now. See what their solution is.
Couldn't even tell you who
Obviously,
their left fielder is.
oh, it's Ramon Laureano. I think the okay, I take that one away. I think the WAR projections are a little harsh on him. I think they're pretty happy with him. He had 3 WAR last year. They don't like his aging curve a
I was
bit.
gonna say they definitely don't like the fact that he's getting a year older at all.
Yes, they don't like that. So I'll probably not the Padres then. Probably take them out. But outside of that, a lot of the teams have decent outfielders. That's kind of the problem with Bader is that he's going to be trying to replace himself essentially. Like a lot of teams have Bader-esque players, and probably for cheaper, that they're not really interested in paying $15 million for a guy to be just as good as the other team. So outside of the Mets, maybe and the Phillies, maybe he just ends up going to a team like the Giants, or he goes to like the White Sox on a 1 year deal and they flip him at the deadline.
Yeah, I think he goes to like, one of the lower tier teams as we're gonna see it on whatever Twitter, the score, whatever it comes up on. Harris Bader signs with the Rockies,
Yeah.
and I'm like automatic trade piece.
There it is. Feel yourself get
It's
moved
gonna
at
be
the
one of
deadline.
those teams.
Yep. Yep.
But going back to it, there was a guy that I would like to see pitch another year, and I think he plans to, is Justin Verlander.
um, I'm
Where does he
so
go?
iffy. I'm so iffy on Verlander because his second half was much better, and I still do
Exactly.
think he potentially has the stuff to pitch another year. I just fits are really interesting. It kind of needs to be a team that like doesn't have like an obvious solution in their rotation and just needs some sort of upside guy. But it also can't be a small market team because they're not really going to be
He's not
interested in
gonna be,
seeing him.
yeah.
But so at the start of the year, he was 94.5 on his four seamer. Then it went down to 93. This was well documented. And then 93 and a half. And then he peaked at 94.9 in July. And everyone was talking about that. You know, it was Scherzer, sorry, Verlander. He was back at 96. He was flashing that. But then it went right back down. It was by the end of the year, it was back to 93. And I don't love that for a guy that's a heavy fly ball pitcher. It still has the carry, but I'm just not a huge fan of it. I think at this point he's a mid rotation guy. Maybe he has that tiny bit of upside. The fact that he's a veteran, you know, if you're a bad team, can make a start. The one team that I'm gonna have to do, and I feel like this is like the most basic thing to do, is the Detroit Tigers. That's the one
That's
team I have to.
exactly who I had in mind too. Because
Because the
like
Tigers,
it
sorry,
just
go ahead.
makes sense at this point in his
Yeah,
career.
yeah.
Um, yeah, like it was well documented, like his first half was horrendous
Mhm.
and then turned it around in the second half. But I mean, he gave you 150 innings at a 3.8, and
Yeah,
it was 3.8 as well. So it's
yeah.
like you know what you're getting essentially.
Mhm.
But in Detroit, I think if they hold on to Scooble, fingers crossed,
Yep.
they still have guys like Reese Olson, Jack Flaherty. Um, oh no, Jackson Job is going to be out, but they have young guys there that
They
could.
have guys. Yeah,
They have
they
guys.
have
So
Mize, Olson, Melton.
yeah, so Verlander could come in and you're not going to ask him for 150 innings necessarily. You can sprinkle him in for 120 a year because this
Mhm.
is a guy that's going to be 43 next year.
Yeah,
Um,
I like it. He's kind of at this point, the fastball is just not very good anymore. It seems like he's having to reach back just to get to anywhere decent velo. It's hurting the command of the pitch and it's slowly losing break. It was 18.6 IVB last year versus 19.3 in 2024. And in 2023, it was 18.8. So it's kind of been like fluctuating a bit as he's looking to kind of try to find. He's always thinking, right? That high ride fastball and that depthy slider, the slider shape's still there. It's a 123. The curveball's a 110, and the changeup, which was never a big weapon, is now a 110 too. So he still has some of the secondary stuff. I think if he reinvents himself a bit, he could still be, but the command is just not what it used to be. It's a 93 location plus, and there's a bit more walk issues for some guys fine, but for a guy who lets up a lot of fly balls and no longer gets a lot of swing and miss, it's interesting. But I like the Tigers fit because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not in love with a lot of their pieces. They are projected to be the third best rotation in baseball, but I think 95% of that is because
yeah, a
Tariq
lot of that
Skubal's
comes
projected
off
for
the
six
back
WAR.
of the best pitcher in baseball.
Like if you look at the guys behind them, all the rotations are better, but even like the Pirates are fifth, and that's not a very good rotation outside of Skeens. It's just if you have one of those top starters that can kind of carry it. I'm fine with Flaherty and I'm fine with Mize ish. But Olson is going to be their number four, and he's an injury guy. And Troy Melton, who's like more of a long guy, is currently set to be their fifth. So adding in a guy like that has some sort of offset upside, and you wouldn't be mad at making a postseason start makes a little bit of sense for a team like the Tigers that doesn't pay big money.
Exactly. And then one last guy quickly we can talk about is Chris Bassett.
Oh my boy.
This is the definition of solid innings eater.
Yeah, I like Bassett. I love Bassett. I like his attitude. He's not very good anymore. The big thing for Bassett is like, everyone loves to talk about how he's like, has so many pitches and he really knows how to pitch. He is 60% sinker cutter and then 16% curveballs. He's mainly sinker cutter curveball. Like his other pitches is a fastball he throws 9% of the time. A sweeper he throws 6% of the time, which is very similar to the curveball and speed, just a bit has less depth. A splitter that he barely throws, a slider he barely throws, and a changeup he barely throws. So like they're there, but nobody's game planning for those pitches. And I think that's kind of the big disconnect. His stuff was down. He sat 91.6 last year after 92.5 the year before. At that velocity, I'm worried about Bassett, and especially as he gets a year older, and the arm continues to slowly drop, which I think is because he's starting to hurt and he's starting to have to dig deep for any velocity he has left. 2023, he was a 40-degree arm angle. Last year, he was 32. So his arm's slowly dropping. He used to be that high slot supernator type, and he's slowly dropping. I like him for the New York Yankees. He's a get you there guy. He showed out of the bullpen that he can maybe get some of that velocity back in the playoffs. He could be in your rotation. He has to accept this, obviously. He might rather be a starter on a bad team, but he can start in the rotation for the beginning of the year. It also hedges your bet if Schlittler gets hurt or just doesn't look very good. Same thing with Will Warren. And then he could slide into your bullpen for the postseason and the end of the season. He's the prototypical get you there guy.
Yeah, I do like that that shot for the Yankees. I do like the flexibility that we saw in the postseason, like him, starting for the whole season and then being shipped off to the bullpen for the rest of the year. This is also a guy that gets a lot of ground balls. It was a 46% ground ball last year. Um, with the defense in Yankee Stadium hopefully being better on the infield with someone that could actually throw the ball at shortstop for at least a little bit. I do like that idea, and like you said, we need someone that will get us there. And
Yeah.
this guy threw 170 innings last year, so
Yeah.
he's averaged damn near 170 for the last 4 years.
Yeah. The other teams I like the Padres. I want to say this. The Padres were no longer on the radar on my radar until the Yu Darvish news. If Darvish is going to retire, it gives the Padres a little bit of money. They can
Yes.
kind of go and get a starter because the starting situation looks bad. It's Pavetta, good. King, good. Musgrove, he's healthy. But then it's Randy Vasquez and JP Sears at the back end of this bullpen. And to be
Yeah.
honest, those guys suck. I'm just gonna be
No, it
honest.
doesn't get me excited at all. And those are former
And
Yankees prospects, by the way.
but but they're just not good, right? And Kyle Hart and Matt Waldron is depth, and unfortunately, this isn't MLB the Show, so Waldron isn't really going to help
It's
out the
not.
team all that much. The Astros need a bit of depth. McCullers and Burrows is at the back of it, and then other than that, there's not a lot of teams where I think that they would be willing to cash out the money for somebody like Chris Bassett, just because he's an innings eater, which is good, but I don't think a lot of teams are at this point of the season are really looking for that. They kind of already have an idea of what their innings are going to look like.
Yeah, and I was looking here at Bass's profile, and I did like the move back to Oakland, but then I remembered that he had some comments about how the team was run,
That
and I was like, that's
ain't
not a good
happening.
fit anymore.
That ain't happening.
But yeah, this is interesting guy. Another guy that I'm surprised hasn't been signed because he does give you that value as both, a starter. I don't see him necessarily being, a bullpen piece, but could be a long guy. Like he would
Mm,
fit, crazy to say it, but you'd fit on the Dodgers as like a guy coming in after a
don't say
Robleski.
that. Don't say that. That's not funny. That's not funny. If he signs with the Dodgers, I legitimately might just become, I don't know, a hockey fan or something because I just, they can't take all of the people, and especially not the ones that I like. Like,
Yeah,
don't
he'd
do
be a good
that.
piggyback off of an opener,
Yeah,
but
off of one of their 8 elite starters. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
well, Bassett should be signed soon. I
Yeah.
would like to see. It says it has him projected for a 2-year deal. I don't think he gets that. I think it's another. I say prove it, but he's already
Yeah.
proven it.
Yeah.
But I think he gets a 1-year deal with somebody,
Yeah,
somebody that'll cash him out.
I think he ends up with either like 1 at 18 or so or 17 or 2 at like 22. Like somewhere like that range where like he gets or maybe more like 25 but gets lower AAV but gets a year of insurance and for a team that, maybe is going for it but doesn't want to pay you 18 million for 1 year like the Padres, you kind of spread out that hit, maybe add a mutual option with a buyout, something like that.
Yeah, that should be an interesting pick. But I guess only time will tell for how long these guys get signed for.
Yeah.
Um, I think that was a great cover of, at least the bigger names that are still left on, but also a little chit chat with, the big guys that have signed
Uh,
already.
Yeah, unfortunately. This is, what I was like ruining making this episode. I was like, oh my God, it's coming up. I'm gonna have to talk about Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker, and I'm gonna have to do it without being angry. And I think I managed to keep my cool on Kyle
Hey, you
Tucker
did, you
mainly.
did a great
So.
job. You did a great job. But as always, AJ, I appreciate you hopping on. Great talk as always.
Thanks for having me on, man.
No problem. And we gotta. I'll see you soon. We got practices coming up. We got some lives that are
Yes,
brewing
sir.
up.
See how the elbows feeling. See how the elbows feeling. Maybe Tommy John coming in. Not enough guys are getting it. So.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see in the box, maybe on the mound.
Oh yeah,
Time will tell. Time will
that's how
tell.
the
But
body feels.
I appreciate you again, AJ, and I'll catch you in a little bit.
Perfect. Thank you.